Hello and welcome everyone to a new Heroes of Might and Magic free tier list, where in this one, we're going to be going over every single Necromancer for Heroes of Might and Magic free. So, Necromancers are a pretty good class, okay? They are notoriously very good for one specific reason, and that is because they are actually the likeliest heroes to get Earth magics. So, you know, if you usually rely on using your space slow in order to clear your first fights and, you know, get going and so on, the Necromancers actually are really good heroes for you. They start off with Necromancy, so if you're using them outside of Necromancer's use, then they, you know, kind of have that skill. But some of them actually make it them worth even as a main, despite the one full dead skill. That's how good these guys can be. So let's go over every single one of these guys. First off is we have Nagash. Nagash is the gold specialist. He gives your kingdom 350 gold every single turn. And then he also starts off with protection from air. That spell is one of the worst spells you can actually start the game with. It's actually not useful whatsoever. You don't really want to scholar it, you don't really want to cast it, it's pretty garbo. So you need like the mage guild to actually enable him to do anything, or like a scholar or something like that. By default, he's not going to be having anything to cast, and that's pretty bad. However, he ends up having intelligence, which is a pretty good skill for either main or a side hero. So, and he's likely to roll into earth as well, and to get guaranteed wisdom. So he actually ends up having like a really good skill tree and can build into one of the better heroes in the game. And yeah, he's actually like a force to be reckoned with, despite not having much of an early game potential. You see this guy being built a lot in games, either as a support, sometimes even as a main. When you're actually playing Necromancers, you definitely want to use him. And even outside of Necromancy, I mean, Necromancer Town, he still gets a pretty good representation. B tier. Next up is we have Nimbus. Nimbus is the Eagle Eye specialist. That's also up with Eagle Eye. He's really bad. He has a dead skill, dead specialty. Now, he is still a Necromancer, so he is not like absolutely tragic if you were to main him. He has shield in his spellbook, so he has something to cast. Like, it's not that bad, but honestly, it's really bad. He's like one of the least bad Eagle Eye specialists, but yet he's still an Eagle Eye specialist, you know? You can't really go too hard on that. Next up is you have Sandra. Sandro has a really big cool aspect because he is the big daddy of the campaign of Shadow of Death. And also, in the game, he starts off with Slow, one of the best spells to start with. And also, he is, he has Necromancer Sorcery, and he specializes in the Sorcery. Now, Sorcery is in a pretty bad state in Heroes of Might and Magic free. The number is just too low to make use of him. And because of that, he ends up falling kind of flat. He's not really that good. He's the kind of hero that you would be kind of glad to see from like a prison. Because as a Necromancer, he would be likely having Earth. And then the Sorcerer specialty would actually be like kicking in by that point. So it would not be as bad. So, but apart from fighting him in a prison, or maybe learning slow off of him with a Scholar, he is not really that good. C tier. Next up is we have Subtiana. Okay, listen, this one is probably going to be the most controversial of this entire list, okay? But before I even do anything, I'm going to put her in A tier. Oh my god, this hero is overpowered! Dude, you have no idea what she can do. She is Necromancy and Scholar, and she can Scholar her Death Ripple that she gets off the specialty to everyone else, and then she can give them a white or a skelly or anything, and then those heroes can actually clear like maps on their own. It's ridiculous. They can clear mines, roadblocks, side towns on that Death Ripple. In mirror matches, if you get to her, then you actually have such a huge advantage. And also non-mirror matches like 6LM 10A, you would, if you would get her, then you can actually do so much on her. I love her a lot. I really like the Subtiana, Death Ripple, Abuse playstyles in the early game, and that can actually put you at a very massive lead from the get-go of the game, and that is actually absolutely amazing. I love this hero. Next up is we have the Font. Now, Font is the anime death specialist that starts off with Necromancy and Mysticism. Now, even in Shadow of Death, when Mysticism was an absolutely dead skill, Font was already good. because having enemy dead from the very get-go of the game actually is ridiculously strong. It is so good, in fact, that it is the main pick to this day. I mean, this year is the main pick for Necromancer, for Necro players in non-Jeebus templates. And in Jeebus too, if you get this guy, you usually main him. Having enemy dead makes you preserve army, be able to take bigger fights, you know, just quality time map. He's so good. He is a very big enabler. The thing about him is that unlike the other good Necro heroes, he's very specifically good for the Necropolis faction. But he's so good for the Necropolis faction, in fact, that he gets the S tier. What a god. And next up is we have the Aislinn. Now you see, Aislinn takes a step further. I mean, goes a step further than Fond. I would say he's actually not as good as Fond for the Necropolis. However, for any other faction, you wanna be maining Aislinn. He gets Earth all the time. He gets high tier good spellcasting from the very get-go of the game. He ends up having a dead skill, which is unfortunate, but still, he is really good. Yeah, this meteor, by the way, I didn't mention this, but yeah, he is the meteor shower specialist, so he has meteor shower from the very get-go of the game, and he also has necromancy wisdom as well. So yeah, this guy is amazing, absolutely amazing. S tier as well. Now, depending on how you look at it, he could be below or above Font, whether you like very heavily prioritize him on the other factions, or if you're looking at Necro in general, then it would be Font above. But I like you using heroes on every single faction, so this is how I tier it. Next up is we have the Domina. Now, Domina is the necromancy specialist, and that is really strong. Having a necro specialist usually is what you want for a main. I mean, this is the best long-term main hero for your necro gameplay, and because of this, she ends up being really good. She rolls Earth all the time. By the way, she has a bug. It's actually literally a bug in the game, but she's actually guaranteed Wisdom on level 3 if you skip the other level up on level 2. So her level 3 after Expert Necromancy is gonna be 100% between Wisdom and a new school of magic. And that new school of magic is most likely gonna be Earth magic. And if it's not, then you can actually just get Wisdom, because you want Wisdom on Necropolis so you can learn your animate from your Mage Guild free. So yeah, she is really consistent, one of the best long-term mains for Necropolis, and she is a really great hero for Necro, and honestly not even only for Necro. However, for non-Necro gameplay, she would be A at most. But because Necropolis exists, and Domina is really good there, she gets the S tier, in my opinion. Next up is we have the Xai. Xai is the learning dude. He starts up with Necromancy Learning, ends up having Stone Skin in the spellbook, and is also the Stone Skin specialist, which is pretty good. You Stone Skin your Skellies in the early game, and they're actually really tanky. Yeah, that's good. However, like apart from having that little bit of early cast and the decent specialty at most, that doesn't really warrant them any decent spot. He would be C tier alongside Sandra. He does look pretty cool though. So this is my tier list for Necromancers of Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and now I shall be summoning the Tribunal members Ame and Feral. Hey guys.
Hey Lexi, how are you? Hey Ame.
Good.
Hello you guys, thank you Lexi for having us here again. So I don't really have much to say except could you please get the tier list on the screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So, okay, I have one disagreement, or actually two. First of all, I would like for you to elaborate on why exactly is Aislinn in the S tier after you said he has a dead skill. Also, it seems like you put him as the best in whole Necro. I would disagree with heavily. And Subtiana in A tier as well. She has a Scholar, she has what?
Scholar Necromancy.
Yeah, that kind of proves my point. Like, the only good thing about Necromancers is that you will always have 1 stacks on other towns, but I think elaboration on the Aislinn pick would be pretty good for us here.
Okay. So having one of the best, most cost-efficient damaging of spells from the very day 1 of the game is really super strong. Not to mention when you actually are almost guaranteed to roll Earth Magic alongside it. This makes Aisling a really good early and mid-game hero, and one of the best in the game, actually, in my opinion.
I guess that makes sense, yeah. As a side hero, he could still be pretty strong as long as you get him some mana, some stats. So, yeah.
I see this guy being made even by Stronghold in very many maps. That's how good he is.
Alright, that's pretty much all I have. Feral?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with actually the placement of both Aisling and Subtiana. I wouldn't have said Subtiana, but I saw the game. I think you played it about a month ago or so, Lexi.
Jeebus King versus Phantom?
Yeah, you had Subtiana. I think you had a Scholar on someone else, or I just death tripled the whole map like in the first few days and destroyed it. So following that game, I have high respect for the hero. Before that, I wouldn't have regarded her at all. So yeah, definitely agree she's A tier. The one thing I would like to perhaps discuss is Sandro. I mean, he starts off with slow, and as you mentioned many times, these heroes have a high chance to get Earth Magic. So he's one of those heroes where you got a high likelihood of having expert Earth slow very early in the game. And that's really powerful for a lot of templates. He can be, almost like a poor man's version of Grindin in a way. So I think he is perhaps a little bit underrated. But other than that, I agree with most of the list.
If you can overlook the fact that you're basically running 2 dead skills, then the fact that he does start off with the slow in the spellbook could actually have pretty good utility, in terms of building him.
Yeah, but I mean, I think in general, all these heroes, they start off with spellbooks, they high chance of getting Earth. They're all going to be, you're not going to be very upset if you find any one of these in a prison, in the mid game or late game. They're all going to be very viable. So I think it's quite a strong class in general.
Yeah, pretty strong class, truly.
Yeah, I mean, even if you get a level 30 Nimbus in the desert, you're not feeling too bad about it. It can still do things. So even in the D tier, it's still potentially useful in the late game and throughout the game. So I think they're all pretty good.
Yeah, I love Necromancers. Really cool thematically. They have their own niches. Very cool class. And thank you guys for joining for the Tribunal section. I always appreciate having you here.
All right,
nice to be here.
Thanks for inviting us. All right, bye.
Ciao, ciao. You catch me live on Twitch. Guys. I stream every day. And subscribe to my YouTube as well to see more of Tribunal action as well. So, ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.